Real Talk with Rajon.
Hello world and welcome back to Real Talk with Rajon when nothing's off limits. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with me and I appreciate that. I am your host, Rajon Lewis. Now, here on Real Talk with Rajon, anything's debatable, so on any given week, we could be discussing anything from sports to music to politics. You name it, we'll discuss it. Now, one of the goals of Real Talk with Rajon is to shine a light on the great things that are happening right here in the Low Country. We have amazing things going on all across the country, and we take all the time we can to talk about the negative things that are happening. But right here, right now in Charleston, we have people doing amazing work that I love taking the opportunity to highlight. And tonight, I have a good friend of mine, Mr. Troy T McClain Jr., who is the co-founder of an evening of Excellence Masquerade Ball. Thank you so much for joining me, sir.
Thank you for having me, man.
Awesome. So for those who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, my name is Troy Tyrone McClain Jr. Funny story about my name. Maybe I'll tell y'all in the, I guess when we get deep into the interview. I am born and raised right here in Charleston, South Carolina. Come from a family of 7, 5 boys, 2 girls. And I am, I guess you could say, a man of many things. Most importantly, I'm just a man of the community, you know. Favorite quote, my favorite person is Martin Luther King Jr. You know, he says, not everybody can be famous, but everybody can be great because greatness is determined by service.
Absolutely.
And I aim to serve my community in whatever capacity that I can.
Okay, good stuff. So let's run down, because you've been on the show before, but I've never actually been able to have a one-on-one with you because you're a very, very busy man. So for those who don't know the many ways that you do serve the community, what are just a few of them?
One in particular, right now, I work for a presidential campaign. Bernie Sanders, #FieldBurn. I'm the regional field director of the Low Country. I'm also an author. I published my first book. It's entitled I Want It All, Practical Principles to Living Your Best Life. Aside from that, I would consider myself a political and social activist. I try to stay informed and engaged as to what is going on. So that our people can be informed and engaged.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't force anyone to make the decisions in which I lean more towards, but in all things, you know, education is currency. So the most powerful form of, I guess, money is knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. Knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is even more detrimental to what we can or cannot do. So I try to be involved. And I educate. I allow social media to be a platform in which I can do what we're doing in real life.
Yeah.
You know. Aside from that, I was blessed and fortunate to find an organization called the I Am Foundation, where we mentor boys. It's instilling ambitious men.
Yes.
Anywhere from elementary on to high school. The plan is to prepare them for life outside or life beyond school, you know, and we focus, we target specifically on whether or not you want to go to high school, whether or not you want to go to college, whether or not you want to find a career, whether or not you want to be an entrepreneur, or whether or not you want to be in the military. Hopefully it is our plan or my plan to really hone in on one of those 4 components so that post high school they would be prepared and equipped and ready to go down one of 4 of those roads. Aside from that, you know, I love my family, you know, my spare time, you know, I love history, you know, I love to travel, work at the airport part-time, and I also do radio. So I'm on Heaven 100.1.
Come on, somebody.
So, you know, radio voice just came out. 3 until 8, every day except Saturday. So if you're not doing anything, tune into the show. In addition to that, you don't have to be in your car. All you have to do is go to, on your phone, heavenradiofm.com, and you click the little connect button up top, and you could tune in. If you tune in, I'll give you a shout out. You just never know. You might hear your name on the radio.
See. So you just ran down like everything.
Yeah.
So you do everything.
Everything, yeah.
So let's start sort of where it all began. So you genuinely have a heart for service, and that's something that I've known about you since I've known you. Is that you really want to serve and you want to be impactful in the community.
Yeah.
Where does that stem from?
I think it probably stems from legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Those of you that don't know, my grandfather is the Reverend Ed Alton McClain Jr. And he is known to be a pioneer in the community. He's a pastor. He was a pastor for 30 plus years, as well as he was on the radio for 30 plus years. He was a principal. He founded an organization called the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, where community leaders of all different faiths and beliefs come together, and they meet once a week to discuss solutions or to discuss problems, and then to discuss solutions to those problems, regardless of whatever entity or faith you believe in. They're more focused on trying to come up with problems, those solutions. In addition to that, he was a member of the school board. He was a member of the Aviation Authority Board. So I would like to believe that what I am is a product of whose I am.
Absolutely.
In terms of generationally and carrying on and out the legacy that was instilled into me. I often like to say real parents, of any sort, whether you're a mentor, a greatest investment you can leave for your children is not what you leave for them, rather what you leave in them. So what my parents, what my grandfathers left into my father and my grandmother left into my mom, etc., I would like to think they're just bearing the fruits of their investment, and I hope to pay it forward and pay it back in any way I can.
Well, that's definitely something, the entire McClain family is pretty, well known in the Low Country for their work, in and around the community and state. And shoot, Katrina known around the world for, playing basketball.
Yeah.
So, and
she's actually a coach now.
Where's she coaching at?
Fort Dorchester.
At Fort? Okay, word.
JV girls.
Nice, man. So shout out to Katrina McClain. I haven't met her in person yet, but my mom used to always tell me about her coming up. And then when she got on the Olympic team, and I watched her there, and then she was in the WNBA, and I watched her a little bit there. So I definitely am a fan. And your Aunt Sherry is like one of my favorite people in the whole world.
Yeah. I tell
Miss Sherry, if you watching, I love you, Miss Sherry, if you watching.
I tell people, man, it's both a blessing and a curse to be McClain.
Yep.
And they say why? Because it does not matter what area I venture into. One of my family members ventured in that.
Then you got Woody, who was Bobby Brown in the New Edition movie and the Bobby Brown movie.
Yeah.
So y'all just, man, y'all everywhere, man.
Yeah. They got all the talent. I tried to do.
Nah, stop playing. Stop playing. If you've been to a midnight musical, you done ran into Troy a couple times.
Probably so.
Okay.
Probably so.
So, man, with all that in mind, how are you able to find your niche? Because I'd imagine that being in a family, that large as your family is, how was it? How hard was it for you to find your own lane that you would operate in, and not maybe try to duplicate what your grandfather's done?
Well, first, my grandfather we have frequent talks, man. A lot of people tell me now, they wish they had, what I have in terms of my grandfather still being here.
Absolutely.
So him and I have a lot of conversations, and he makes it a priority for me to be me, right? It's one thing to try to fill someone's shoes, but it's another thing just to follow their footsteps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I think it may have been Sir Walter Raleigh that said, "You see further while standing on the shoulders of giants."
Absolutely.
Right. So I don't try to be him. I just try to be me. And in doing that, throughout the years with me, with my struggles and trials and tribulations, I think I found myself by identifying what I wanted to be, right? You know, and once I identified that, it was like, well, I'm gonna, you know, like I'm a huge Les Brown fan.
Yes, definitely.
And his story, you know, I was talking the other day, is very similar to my story in terms of failing and struggling and labeled as if I had a learning disability, and the list goes on and on. And then finding, listening to him and various other people that I just am intrigued and just moved by. You know, it's one thing to want to be like somebody, but it's another thing to see characteristics of them within you.
Absolutely.
And in doing that, I found that, you know what, wow, I think I want to be able to tell my story to people around the world, you know, because it's often the person that no one's imagined anything of that usually go on and do the things that no one can imagine.
Absolutely. And to be able to tell your story your way.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
As opposed to other people, because that's another thing we look at. You know, I always look at like Hollywood and how, you know, it's set up where a lot of times you have people telling the stories of African Americans who aren't African American. You know, you have stories who are telling you have, you know, stories, people telling stories of what happened in China who are not Chinese.
True.
And it's like, so that's how you end up with, you know, what is it, the last Samurai starring Tom Cruise. You know what I mean? Like, things of that nature. You got them on the Great Wall of China starring Ben Affleck. And, like, these things happen because people aren't able to tell their own stories. So I love how you've taken your story, you've taken ownership of your story, and you've been able to spread it. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, I often tell people, I heard somebody say something that was not just quotable. It's actually true, right? Facts tell, but stories sell, right? Because the way that we're generally made up is that we're more prone to listen to somebody's story than we are somebody telling us factual information.
Ah, okay.
Because we are more driven by our senses than we are our intellect. You know, have you ever been in court and you hear somebody say, you know, they did something, and the judge say, well, what were you thinking? You know, the truth is they weren't. They were feeling.
Right.
So that's why, you know, you listen to a lot of speakers of any sort tell stories. They incorporate stories within their message because stories have a way of making a person feel connected, and making a person feel like, wow, he went through that or she went through that, and it's more, I guess it's real in a sense. So that's why I have learned from people like yourself and just a myriad of people who have phenomenal stories to really personalize my own, to tell it in a way to where it was truthful, it was honest, it was impactful, and it was touching. And through that experience, I've been blessed to connect and share with a lot of people, and I'm grateful.
Awesome. So I think I want to ask this question because people always see, you know, especially in this age of social media, where, you know, people put their best foot forward all the time. Everybody's living their best life all the time. Nobody's ever having a down day. Without going too far into detail, what is the worst you can remember feeling, and how did you deal with that?
Oh man, the worst thing for me is really facing what I had been through, right? Bishop Rudolph McKissick said, "God can't fix what you won't face." Right. So we often want to avoid the truths that have happened to us, whether it was failure in school, whether it was rejection, whether it was being stepped on, whether it was betrayal. It's just willing to understand that a loss is not a loss, it's a lesson. To learn to appreciate the pain, it's a blessing. So for me, it was, you know, it's hard to really name one incident that really was like, oh, you know, it's a lot of things that has transpired that has been, you know, hurtful, you know, but you know, from those experiences, I just put up a status the other day. I have learned to accept that all of those experiences has been nothing more than fertilizer being used to plant the seed that is within me. And next year, hopefully, I believe and I know that all of my experiences, especially the bad ones, because when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yeah.
So I may look at it as it was happening to me, but God was looking at it as it was happening for me.
Absolutely. And I wanted to use that opportunity to ask that question because so many times, and this interview is a little different than my normal interviews are because one, we're actually friends. And so I'm not really.
I'm so honored, you guys.
Here we go.
You know what, man? I am so honored
Here we-
to be sitting next to Rashawn Lewis, man. You know what, man? This brother can really sing. Man. I was in the office, man, and I heard him singing the other day, and I said, "Hello, who is that?" Aside from him being able to speak, sing, all that good stuff.
But no,
I'm humbled.
No, whatever, man. Anyway, but I always I don't need to take this interview time to get to know you like I would a lot of other people.
Yeah.
So I feel like I know you so, and I also know that you're a thinker. And a lot of times we don't get to hear our thinkers speak about their thinking.
Yeah.
We hear the processed thought.
Yeah.
So, you get sent 6-7 questions, you prepare for those 6 or 7 questions, and then you spout out what you've rehearsed. But sometimes, being able to do that in the process of thinking, we find some things that may not otherwise have presented themselves.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So I wanted to go there with you a little bit there. Plus, also, again, I always think it's important, especially in an age where we're talking about things like mental health and protecting your peace and all these things. What kind of methods that people like us are using that will allow us to keep going, because those bad things happen. You may not show them on social media if they're happening. You may not, I may not, but they're happening. And when they're happening, somehow, some way, God continues to keep carrying us forward.
Yeah. When those things happen for me, I am real private. Like I have a unique way of not, at least I think I do, of not revealing what it is that I'm going through. A songwriter says, "You don't know my story." On and on and on. What I had to go through to get here. You'll never understand my pain. But anyway, so for me, I confide in those individuals such as yourself. Him and I just had a real honest conversation about some things that I was dealing with personally.
Yeah.
In addition to that, meditation. And I listen to a lot of things repeatedly. People say, "Well, how did you get the mindset of where you are now with dealing with different things that you go through?" Like I listen to so many different people on YouTube. If you let me tell it, T.D. Jakes and E.T., Eric Thomas and Tony Robbins. We didn't wake up. I say we. I mean like Rashawn and I, or your Kevin Harts, or your Steve Harveys, or your Oprah Winfreys, or your Tyler. They didn't wake up one day. I can use somebody closer to me. Woody McClain. I didn't wake. Those guys, those individuals didn't wake up to the way they are and just became that particular person. Right. That happened over years of discipline, years of meditation, years of being honest with yourself. One quote I read said, "You know what? Instead of me working hard on all of those other things, the hardest thing I'm going to work on is myself."
Boom. I love that.
Because when you work on yourself, you're honest enough to say, "Well, I really made an honest commitment to change this, or to change that, or to change this, or to change that." And if you're honest with yourself, man, you'd be surprised with what you actually are willing to change. But most people aren't honest with themselves. We find excuses to justify what we're doing,
absolutely,
or what we haven't done, or why we shouldn't do what God is saying we ought to do.
Yeah, and it's always somebody else's fault.
Sure.
That's something I always talk to, especially like dealing with youth as much as we do. One thing I always tell youth that I deal with is always find yourself in the situation.
Yeah.
No matter what the situation is, the person, you may think the other person is 100% wrong. Find what you did wrong in that situation, because even if your reaction to what happened was wrong, you're still wrong in that regard. So you have to find yourself in the situation and be able to deal with it. And that's something I always tell my students. I tell my wife that. I tell myself that all the time. It's very few things that are happening in my life that I'll completely blame somebody else for. At all. Just because I know that I'm not perfect. I'm fallible. And when you have that kind of,
self-consciousness, that knowledge of yourself,
Yeah, yeah.
it makes you a lot more humble and it keeps you from getting too high on yourself because you realize like I can screw up just like anybody else. And
Thanks.
if I think, and I can't fix what you do, but I can always fix me.
Thanks.
I can always work on me. I can always, I can always pray for that person and pray that person grows.
Yeah.
But Lord, work on me. Let me know, where my flaws are so that I can correct that.
Come on, man, preach.
Man, stop playing with me, man. Anyway, so we're gonna keep rolling with you. So we talked about your work within. You mentioned the mentoring program. What made you want to be a mentor? What made you want to go that route?
I figured there was a lot more people out there like me, right? That were going through similar things, or that maybe viewed failure as a setback as opposed to a setup or a comeback, right? So and especially after connecting with Les Brown, I figured, man, what other way could I give back to really, instill, to empower, to cultivate, to culminate, and to germinate greatness that lies within each young man, especially what's going on within the society, what's going on within the world right now. Most people don't know. If you Google a black man, or you Google something so simple, the imagery, most of the images come back as showing us in a negative connotation, right? That's crazy. So I figure if God could do that for me, then who am I not to pay it forward?
Absolutely.
Back to those because to be honest with you, none of us grew into who we are today without having to be developed, without having somebody to spank us or mature us in a way that if we would see somebody for what they could be, then maybe they would be what they could be, because somebody saw the potential that lied within them when there was no evidence that would suggest that they were going to be what they could be.
Absolutely.
Right. So that was my mentality when it came on down to mentorship, and that's to why the I Am Foundation was formed. And I remember calling yourself and Ricardo and Sam, and just asking for different advice, asking for counsel as it pertains to certain things, and I didn't know what I was getting into then. But the commitment and dedication that mentorship requires, once you see the reward of what, I spoke with a couple parents, and a couple parents told me the other day that their son was on the AB honor roll. And I think about the times that he was, Lord have mercy. Think about the times that he was a troubled young man, but what he needed was someone to just hold him and remind him of whose he is, and who he is, and who's he becoming. So that is my whole approach when it comes to mentorship. I often say that success is not success until those who have been successful can successfully birth successors. Because real legacy is not even seen. Right. So I may think I'm doing wonderful things, but if it does not, I think it was Miles Monroe said, if your success does not outlive you, then what have you done?
Absolutely.
Which is why Christianity is arguably one of the most successful religious faiths, because Jesus died 2,000 years ago, and yet here we are still echoing his name.
Yeah. And so like the I Am Foundation, I remember when I started, what I wanted to do when I was getting into mentorship, and I called you, and I was like, hey man, I got this idea for a mentoring program. He's like, yo, I was about to call you because I have an idea for a mentoring program.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I remember that conversation that night, and it was always good because like, that's just always who you've been to me. Like, I just think, and I've been amazed at the work you've been able to do.
Yeah.
What's been the most rewarding part of the mentorship aspect of it?
For me, it's I don't even think that I have fully been. I don't think that I fully experienced the rewarding part of it yet, because it's so ongoing.
Yes.
Right. That and I almost view life like that. Like there's no pinnacle until we have died. It's a journey, right? So, I know that's a real deep answer, but that's just truth. Our program, we start with young boys, and the result of that, we don't really get to see that mature until they're on their own,
Right.
until they're graduated high school. So we got, we we as mentors, we like when we get the praise reports with the parents to say this or say that. But in reality, it's long enough to hear something to remind you that what you're doing is making a difference, right? What you're doing. But outside of that, I mean, it's so much work to be done that you try not to focus on a moment versus the movement in which you are part of.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's translate a little bit over transition over to talking about. Thank you so much. Talking about let's talk about the Masquerade Ball, man. Before we get to Masquerade Ball, because now that's the channel. I want to work my way into the channel.
Yeah.
So your work when we start talking about more of the private sector, we're talking about your work you've done. I know you started out, I believe, once you originally you were doing like the church, midnight musicals and hosting gigs like that, and then you started doing the Awakening series. What was the basis for that for you?
Yeah, we used to do something called Young Saving Lebanon.
Okay.
Shout out to Dia Passion and Shakina Goff.
Yep.
And I like to give people shout outs and the proper acknowledgement because they rightfully deserve it. They founded something called Young Saving Lebanon, and what it was a concept based on people, young millennials wanting to do something that didn't necessarily involve them having to go into certain arenas. And they wanted to appreciate music. They wanted to appreciate good conversations,
right,
good vibes, et cetera. So they're from New York. They were newly saved at the time, and they moved to Charleston. And they were like, "Yo, I want to do something." So, and they asked me to be a part of it. We were a part of it, and we were blessed to do a lot of amazing events. One for our very first year, I remember getting Alexa Spite. She was at the time the second runner-up. I think Joshua Rogers had won that year, and then one year we had Lowell Pye. He used to sing with I wanted to say Commission. Then one year we had Bishop Jason Nelson. We did a worship experience with Pastor Briggs at Pastor Briggs Church. So from then, I was very fortunate enough to link up with Karen Thrower, and we started something called the Awakening Series. Yeah. The Awakening Series was comprised of, at the time, I was frustrated as many of us are now, and we probably were then, with the lack of, I guess, the lack of economic power that we as blacks have. So I said, you know what, we should really start circulating the money in our communities more. So we started highlighting, locating local black businesses that wanted to let people know who they are, what they sell, what they do, and how. Because I don't think there's a shortage on ideas. Right. I just think there's a shortage of how to make it a legit business. Yeah. Whether it's sole proprietorship, LLC, Secretary of State, get you a VIN number or EIN number. Right. Those are different things that we highlighted. So through that, we were able to introduce businesses to people that didn't even know they existed. Wow. Case in point, Fresh Future Farms. She sells. Shout out to Mr. Maine. Yeah, she has her own grocery store. People didn't know that there is a young lady who has her own pharmacy, black owned, West Ashley. Yeah. Chrissy Gleaton. Yes, they do. So people didn't really good spot too. I can't remember the name of it right now. Focus, yeah, because my grandma goes there. That's my grandma gets her stuff. And I was actually really surprised at that, like how great it was. I didn't know it was black owned. I knew nothing about it. I just walked in and I was amazed. So shout out to Focus. Yeah. Yeah. Chrissy Gleaton, that's her name. I think it's off San Rittenberg. Right by Panera Bread. Correct. So we were able to do some amazing things with the Awakening series. And it wasn't just an event. It was an experience. And the idea behind the name is we would take a seed, have an idea that you would have, you would plant it in the ground, and we would awaken it. We would first awaken it and get you to the point to where you believe in it, plant it into the ground. And at the end of every event, check this, we would give people a seed that they would go and plant, and their seed would represent their dream or their vision. And you would have to water it, you would have to protect it, you would have to give it time to mature. And through that experience, man, we've gotten a lot of calls, and we were able to do some amazing things. And from that, transition into channel consulting.
Correct.
Channel consulting is what I'm doing now. Shout out to Lady T or Twan Richardson. She's my business partner.
She's watching. What up, Miss Twan?
And we were able to do a lot of amazing things thus far. You know, the birthing place for channel consulting really starts. The name is unique within itself. I said, God, I want to do something where I can be a beacon, where I can be a conduit to help people in their businesses, and then just in general. He said, come up with the name Channel Consulting. I said, well, why channel? He said, because when you look at a television has a plethora of channels, right? But you might not like what I like, and I might not like what you like. So in that, we are watching different channels. But the channel that you're watching is connecting well with you, and the channel that I am watching is connecting well with me. So in that aspect, we gave it the name Channel, and our tagline or our mantra is "You're one connection away."
Wow.
Because in reality, when God wants to bless people, he uses people, right? When the devil wants to curse people, he uses people. We have to be able to operate with the gift of discernment to be able to decipher and distinguish who was sent to do what.
Right.
But in order for us to do that, we have to get connected.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's the whole concept of what channel consulting is. What do? We actually, hi, how are you? we give people, we expose their brand and or their business. We actually do consultations, coaching. We do events. Next month we have a new. I'm giving her name drop just so you guys can be on the lookout. There is a black chiropractor, West Ashley. So she's our next. I ain't gonna give you too much. Lady T might fuss at me, but that is the gist of what Channel does. So if you need us to help and or assist you with your event, please hit up myself and or Lady T, and that brings me to the
Evening of
Masquerade
Excellence.
Ball.
Yes, right. So it's just good. You should host the show, man. You're doing really good with these transitions, man. So the Evening of Excellence Masquerade Ball, December 27th, going down to Friday night. Channel Consulting. The Channel Consulting. Where did that idea come from?
Jason Kors. Shout out to Jason Kors. Jason Kors, I've been knowing Jason Kors since 2011. I used to work at T-Mobile, and I met him there, and he's been doing some phenomenal, amazing work since then. And he's like, yo, he does events. I've been doing events. We just did a seersucker at the Sundress. And then, he's been doing events, So he's like, yo, we should get together and do something, right? And we got together, and him, I, and Lady T, we spoke, and he's like, yo, we should do a masquerade ball, right? And originally we were going to do it on Thanksgiving night, because, after we eat all our food, we're looking for stuff to do. Then we transitioned into doing it on the 27th of December. The concept of it is you're going to get a little bit of everything, right? From 6 to 7, you're going to get what we call the Channel Connect Mixer, where people like Rashawn and myself, and you never know who's going to be in the room. Like I said, our motto, our mantra is you're one connect away. The only way you know who's if you just say hello. Right? So from 6 to 7 is going to be a Channel Connect Mixer. And then from 7 until 10, there will be food, There'll be a live band. There'll be music. There'll be giveaways. It's going to be a fun experience. And the most exciting part for me is I somehow managed to get Rajon Lewis to come out.
Stop playing. Stop
I
playing.
don't know. The prayers of the righteous availeth much. So that for me is going to be a joy. It's going to be.
Yeah, man. So I mean,
excited.
I was actually really excited when the date changed. Like the date changing for me was a good thing. Thanksgiving night I do family all night the whole night, so I usually don't go home till late.
It must
But
have been the Lord.
that's God, man. That's God. But when I started to it moved to the 27th, I was like, oh, the 27th. Like, and then it was Friday because Friday night is date night for me and my wife. Every Friday night is date night.
Oh wow. That's
So
beautiful,
so
man.
that fell right in. The Love Soul experience was the same thing. Y'all did that in Mount Pleasant.
Oh, you were there.
Yeah, I was there for that.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
bro, I be supporting
man.
stuff, man.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, bro.
That wasn't my event, but I hosted it.
Yeah, I remember. I bought tickets because you was the host.
You all right,
I told
bro.
you to stop playing with me, man.
All right, bro.
but I wanted to make sure, one, it's a good opportunity to get the wife out the house, and I would definitely recommend y'all go ahead and put the Real Talk stamp on it. If you're looking for something to do, December 27th, you want to get the wife out. Y'all haven't you getting your girl out. You haven't been anywhere in a while. She was like, why don't you take me somewhere? December 27th, man. Come on out. They're gonna be right at the
Crown Plaza.
Crown Plaza. I didn't even know where it's gonna be. I was gonna show up.
It was cool. It was cool.
I got a ticket, so it's cool. But Crown Plaza, 6 or 7 is the mixer.
Yeah.
And then what happens after that?
6 or 7 is a mixture, and then we're gonna open it up into the main room, and it will be a live band. It's gonna be a little music. It's gonna be food. It's gonna be giveaways. It's going to be a fun night. So you get an opportunity. I don't know about you, but I myself, I like to dress up, right? So ladies will have on their gowns, their ball attire. Fellas will have on tuxes and some nice shoes, and if you decide to wear a mask, you can. But if you don't, then you can just come as you are. All in all, it's going to be a fun experience, and we are excited. We're excited. Also, if you have a business and you want to be a vendor, we have maybe 2 slots available left. So if you have a product that you want to sell, I'm sure Lady T is.
She already posted the link.
Posting the link.
Yep.
If you got any more questions about that, contact her. She'll be able to answer any questions you have as it pertains to the event. But we're excited, man. We're excited.
Awesome. So again, December 27th, 6 it starts, 6 to 7 is a network an event. After that, it gets rolling. They got live music. Who's the band?
Can't tell you, man. You gotta be there, man.
All right. It's going down. What's up, Tennessee? How everybody doing? Thank y'all so much for watching, man. This is really dope that you guys are watching.
I might even ask Rajon Lewis to give us a special selection. I don't know, man. I heard him saying the other night. Like,
this guy.
Let me find out. Okay, all right.
This guy. Here we go. But so we got the mixer coming up. The mixer and Masquerade Ball.
Yeah.
So what's to come for the channel? Long term, everything goes perfectly. What does it look like in 10 years for the channel?
Oh man. Channel. We just like to help people, right? I'm reading a book. Zig Ziglar is very famous for saying, "You help enough people get what they want, you will in turn get what you want." Right? There's not, for me, for us, it's really, we don't have events. We create experiences, right? Because experiences are more impactful,
Absolutely,
than events. It's like, well, what did they do, man? So when you come to the event on December 27th, it will not be like any event you've ever been to. And even if we spend, I won't even say spend, even if we invest a little more into making a memorable experience, then we are going to do that. Lady T and I will fight about it because I'm cheap. I don't like to spend money, But I will spend it if it means leaving a lasting impression, and if it's an experience that it was like, wow, I did not expect that. Those are moments that we live for. As far as events we have in the future, like I said, we have we're going to be doing something with the chiropractor next month. You know, I'm deciphering whether I even want to drop the name of the actual event.
Mm-hmm.
Just know it's going to be dope.
All right.
It's going to be dope.
All right.
You know, the name is you know, you get an opportunity to meet with the chiropractor, and it's going to be dope. From that, we're also maybe looking at doing something on the yacht.
Okay. All right.
So again, the purpose of these events is to connect people with other people.
Yeah.
Charleston is inundated with talented
Absolutely.
people doing a lot of amazing things.
Absolutely.
But people just don't know about them. Right?
Absolutely.
And you know, we want to create events or experiences to where you have an amazing time, you connect with amazing people, and you, from the experience that you have, are able to have a lasting or build and or create lasting relationships with other people from coming to the event.
Awesome. I love that, man. So what is coming for Troy? What is if you know, when Troy looks back, and I'll go all the way out there. When Troy, you know, is 75 years old and he's sitting in his rocking chair, what is going through Troy's mind? What that he's accomplished if everything goes the way you want it to go?
Man, that's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question, but I told you I want you to think tonight.
Man, but just you know, you could have texted me that.
Nah, I'm not texting you that.
I'd have been ready, man.
Nah, man, it's a conversation, yeah.
For me, it is to do what my grandfather has done for me. It is to equip, it is to educate, and it is to pour into my grandson or my granddaughter what has been poured into me. And if I am blessed enough, like my grandfather, to see the seeds that I have sown mature, grow up, and to be able to do the same thing. Because as we said earlier, doesn't matter what I've done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I can't empower my seeds, not even so much in a biological sense, if we can't empower our mentees to do what we do and to do it better, we have failed.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So,
you know, I guess when I'm an old man, I'm old now. Old.
right.
But when I get to be, you know, 70, 80 years old, and I'm looking back over my life, I hope that I am having the same, if not similar, conversations that my grandfather is having with me, with my seeds.
I love that, man. I love that. Well, thank you so much for this interview, man. This has been amazing.
Yes.
December 27th is going down, an evening of Excellence Masquerade Ball, starting with the networking event from 6 to 7. After that, the night opens up, and we'll be dancing the night away until they kick us out. I will be there. Toya will be there. The squad will be there. My special friend, Crystal Simmons, Crystal Matthews, apologize, said if you're married, you need to come with with no mask on. She said, if you're married, come with no mask on. If you're single, you can wear a mask. All right? That's what she told me to pass on to y'all. I'm just a messenger. Don't shoot the messenger.
That's what she said.
But you got any parting thoughts before you close out?
What I often say is that if you're on and you're watching and you need an example of someone who did not, who wasn't qualified, who wasn't looked at to be a success. You know, God doesn't call qualified, He qualifies the called. And I challenge you to identify who you are, whose you are, and to live your purpose with purpose, on purpose. Because it's often the person that no one imagines anything of that go on and do the things that no one can imagine. We'll see you December 27th. Inbox myself or Lady T to get your ticket because they are going fast.
You're a man.
That's it, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me, bro. You already know. And thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Real Talk with Rajon, the local celebrity spotlight. I normally do these on Wednesday night, but my boy needed to get on, so I had to make it happen for my boy. Wednesday night, I'm actually interviewing Zandrina Dunning and the cast and crew of Love
Love in Southern Discomfort. That's the name of the play. Love in Southern Discomfort, which is a stage play that they're doing right here in the Low Country, which is featuring such artists as Black Diamond, Alfonso Riley, and so many other great local artists. Zandrina Dunning, local singer, producer. She put on the Aretha Franklin concert. She did that. Was her. She did the
what up, Z?
She did a Stevie Wonder and a Motown review, and now she has Love in Southern Discomfort, which I believe is her first stage play. So I'm really excited about talking to them on Wednesday night. Little personal note, tomorrow is my birthday. I'll be 38 years old. God is good. I'll probably talk more about it tomorrow, but I'm really excited about that. If this is your first time watching, I hope you enjoyed it. I always encourage people to leave comments, whether they're positive or negative. I want to grow and learn from your comments. So if this is your first time watching it, I hope you're going to watch again. If this is your last time watching it, think about it. We can do better. If I can do better, let me know how, and I'm going to do it. If you want to listen to the podcast, this is also, so if you're listening to this on my podcast, thank you so much for listening. You can find my podcast on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can find podcasts, Spotify, and you can find my video on YouTube and my website, www.realtalkwithrejean.com. And if you want to get merch, I have merch on my website as well. So that's everything for me. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you again, Troy, for being my guest. And always remember that God is everything, and without him, we are nothing. So never forget where your help comes from. And if a man doesn't stand for something, he's bound to fall for anything. Now that's real talk. I will see y'all on Wednesday. Peace.